In this training video, we're going to talk about the NASA Rally Sport email system, and the most important core concept to begin with is that what we do not have is a email list that we use. Instead, what we have is everyone that's in the database, and then we dynamically select them based on what we're trying to do. So our first example will be just to select the volunteers from an event. Let's say we want to, very simply send an email that says we're change the place that we're going to be having registration. So everything that we're looking at, email, texting, or building a selection is right here. So click there, and we are going to we start by doing a selection, and then once we've made the selection, then we actually send out an email. So let's select by event, and we're looking for volunteers. So if we wanted to say, click, there's the volunteers, that's who we are trying to get, and then here's the rally that we're interested in. So this will generate the selections, and it says, okay, 26 people were selected, and with those, we can either send them a text message, send them an email, or preview our selection just to see what we have. So if we say send email, then here is a very simple form where we would fill out just who it's from, what the subject is, and then what the message that we're sending them. So that's a pretty basic setup. So we might say Anders at NASARallysport.com and moved registration. We've moved registration to 123 Main Street. And then we could preview the email, and here's what we've put in. We can check it if we want. We can go back and edit it, or we can load these emails into the send buffer. I'm happy with what I've written, so click load those into the send buffer. There they are, and once we're ready, boom, we would click send them out. So if we click that, it would churn off and send those emails out. So we don't need to actually send these for this demo. So that is a very simple selection of one group from one event. So let's go through. Maybe we wanted to get all of the navigators. So we are selecting by event. That's our main criteria in this particular case. Let me say I want just the navigators from 2014 Sandblast and generate selections. So there they are, 31 of them. So pretty straightforward, and then I can continue and do whatever I wanted. So often what we're wanting to do is something a little more combinatorial. So we might want to have volunteers from 2 events that we are wanting to send an email to. So here we're going to say we are still selecting by event. So in this case, let's say we wanted to actually get, if we want to look at people who were, say, at Sandblast 2013 and also we're at Hyperfest 2013. And hey, we can even throw in Rally West Virginia. So, and then we say we want to get all the volunteers. So we're looking at the volunteers from those 3 events, generate the selections. So now what this has done is this 185 number, this is the total number of individual people. Even if they had volunteered at 3 of those events, you don't get 3 emails, right? So it is correctly discarding multiples. So now that we've got this idea of we can select from multiple events, let's look at some of the other options that we have. We can select by the first event that someone was. So we say, all right, show me all of the drivers whose first event is going to be 2014 Sandblast Rally. So this would find only those 7 people, and we could preview them there. That's the first time these guys are showing up at any event. The next thing that is very handy is by state is used occasion, but looking at a distance radius more precisely. So this is often used for recruiting volunteers. So here we would say what I want to do is I want to find any person that is, let's look at people just really close to an event. So there's 50 miles, so someone within an hour's drive. Let's say I'm like, oh, I need to find someone who's really close to Sandblast. And, because I have something that's going on next week. And it would only interest the people who are very close. So this will find everyone that is only within 50 miles, generate the selection, and then there you have just the people that are close by. We could make it even tighter if we wanted people that were essentially only in the very town, use a 20-mile radius. So, whoops, I'm not looking at that, we're looking at email. We can also select virtual volunteers. That's kind of distance independent. That's for people that have done virtual scoring. So now let's look at the idea of combining some of these queries. So let's say we do a selection by state. So here we're going to say, let's find volunteers who are in, let's see, Eastern. Let's say volunteers, people that are in the state of South Carolina and have volunteered at any event, but are living there. So we generate those selections. So that's pretty straightforward, but what we want to look at is if we do this modify selection after query is complete. So this says we're going to make one query and then add some stuff to it when we're done. So it's the same query. We're looking at South Carolina volunteers, and we generate those selections. Now what we have is when we're done, we have these possibilities. So we've already selected everyone that's in South Carolina, and now what I want to do is I'm going to select by event, and I get, because I'm in the middle of a query, I get these choices. What do I want to do with what I select out of this? So I'm going to select, let's say, volunteers from 2013 Sandblast. So what this is saying is I want everyone that was in South Carolina, and I'm going to say plus, this is the add the result to what you have now, which is the default. Everyone that's in South Carolina plus all the volunteers from last year's rally. So now I generate those. So the selection I just did was 115. Combined with what I had before, there's a little bit of an overlap, and so now I'm up to 172. So I can combine these queries to get precisely what I'm looking at. Let's look at something that is a little more advanced still. Let's say I want to start out by getting from a particular event, and I want to send a message to everyone that's coming from far away. So here are the volunteers. Let's say we look at 2013 Sandblast. So first I'm going to select all the volunteers from last year. Okay, and then I am going to select by distance. So that's right here. And so I'm going to select any person that is 200 miles away, and I can just pick any one of the zip codes. And what I'm actually going to do is subtract the result from what I have already. So look at what we're doing here now. We're actually saying take anyone that is within 200 miles of this rally and subtract them from the whole pool of what we had, which was all of the volunteers. So what I'm going to be left with is everyone that is further away than 200 miles. So I selected a whole bunch of people and then removed them from that selection, and it brought me down to 48 people. So those are just the 48 people that were at Sandblast last year volunteering, but were further away than 200 miles. So when we look at what we have for the ability to do selections, if we look at what event they are, what their first event was, what state they're in, and how far away, and we imagine that we can combine those in any way we want. We can say, I only want to send this to the navigators for a particular event, or only the drivers who are registered for a particular event. This is also the way that we actually determine who we're sending out text messages to. I could say, I want to send this out to the volunteers, but only the ones that are already registered and live within 20 miles. So it's really very much not a static list, and very much more a precise targeting of what is the message that you happen to have and who needs to hear that message. And then let's build a selection of those people so that we send that to the right people. I mean, just so people get less spam. If this message isn't needed by anyone that's 500 miles away, don't send it to them. And B, so that we're really looking at customizing the messages to the people who are going to be hearing them. You might want to send something only to drivers. You might want to send something only to navigators, just to the ham guys. I mean, all of that is really changing the way you think about who you want to talk to.